make a bold prediction here. Manchester United will never win the Premier League with Jose Mourinho as the manager or Paul Pogba as a staple of the team. And that ultimately is what it boils down to. The corporate side of the business is very important to Manchester United, and we had a chat off air about how important that now is to keep making money. But what is the purpose of making money? The purpose of making money for a football club is to have more resources, to be able to plough into a team at a time when Manchester City have wealthy owners. Spurs are moving into a new money-making stadium. Arsenal already have that. Chelsea have a very wealthy owner. To be able to put money into the team to be able to compete. 75,000 people going to Old Trafford to expect to see their team play a certain way and also to win. We've all in this studio, everybody has watched, if you've watched football for the last 20 years, you've watched Manchester United dominate a big chunk of the Premier League. That's their expectation, to compete. I don't think they expect to win everything, but they expect to compete. And Manchester United, the reason why every newspaper, every television channel, every radio station on the planet is talking about Mourinho and Pogba, because they're asking the fundamental question, can these guys have fundamental success in either the Premier League or the Champions League with that club? And the answer is no. So if the answer is no, Ed Woodward or Manchester United have to make a decision to either get rid of one or both. And I think that,
games in now, Stan, and he finished second last season.
I don't think it'll be now. I think that Manchester United could quite conceivably finish second, third or fourth, win an FA Cup. But it's the way that Jose Mourinho treats his players.
Oh, I totally agree.
And keeps them. I mean, he's had a pop at Luke Shaw. He's had a pop at Anthony Martial, Paul Pogba. The reason why he bigs up Scott McTominay, because Sir Alex Ferguson tapped Jose Mourinho on the shoulder and said, play McTominay when he first came into the club. He's appealing to the big boss. Give me time. So I think that Mourinho nor Pogba will ever see that Premier League trophy with Manchester United.
But Carlton, you keep sort of, in some way, still defending Mourinho by saying people forget that they finished runners-up last season. They won Europa League the season before. But 7 games in, you're in 10th place. Isn't that sort of regressing for Manchester United?
Well, if you look at the facts, simple facts, if they'd have won yesterday, they'd only been 6 points off the top. That's as simple as it is. Are we saying, we've got to be very careful what we're saying here now, because if we look at Fulham, who got promoted to the Premier League, after 15 games, I don't think they're in the top half of the table. They made a massive surge come to Christmas. So you never know what can happen. I never thought that Man United were going to win the league this season. I'll be honest with you. I don't think anybody, and I'm being honest with you now, I think Man City will win the league again by a clear 10 to 15 points. They're on a different level. But I certainly thought that Man United would close the gap this season. I thought they would, they would be the team to close the gap. I don't see the players that Man United have got. Having watched Chelsea and Liverpool last night, could Man United field a side that could give Chelsea and Liverpool a good game? I honestly believe so.
My belief is the only time you should judge a manager is at the end of the campaign. At the end of the campaign, and I would advocate that you should bring in some rules and regulations that you cannot dismiss your coach. Whoever you start the season with as your coach, you should not dismiss him, or you cannot dismiss him until the end of the season.
That's a great
Coaches
idea.
need stability.
And time. And time.
Which brings to the question, will he last till the end of the season?
Well, the fans don't want him to, because on social media, let me just read out some tweets of what people are saying. Ross says, how much English does Zizou need to learn? Referring to Zidane. And then Yogesh GC says, I feel sorry for Jose. Zidane is not the answer. United should give it to Carrick until the end of the season. Appoint a director of football and get Pochettino. And then Olivia says...
Pochettino, but what's Pochettino done?
The next one, Olivia says, the main issue that no one is talking about regarding United is simply that they're no longer as big of a club they once were. Other clubs have caught up, surpassed, and United is less privileged to be a part of.
But you people are forgetting last season they finished second. You're talking, I said to Stan yesterday, you're talking about Spurs. They've not won anything.
Well, for 10 years, by the way.
Yeah, and Liverpool have not done anything. And I watched Liverpool yesterday. I don't think, I haven't seen Liverpool this season. I've seen little clips. They're not going to challenge Man City for the league title. They're not going to. They're going to beat a lot of teams. They're not going to challenge. We look at Arsenal with Arsene Wenger. Everybody wanted Arsene Wenger to go. But still, the best we can hope for Arsenal is top 4, which is the same as what Arsene Wenger could achieve.
generally speaking, with the exception of his last 2 seasons at the club. Yeah.
I think the point is it's about style and substance with Manchester United. If you looked at it and it was Italy, you'd say Juventus, AC Milan and Inter Milan are in that group, or if it was Spain, Barcelona and Real Madrid. There are certain expectations that the club want to meet. I think that what happened after Sir Alex Ferguson left was that they went very quickly for David Moyes because Sir Alex Ferguson recommended him.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Then they went for Louis van Gaal, a bit more pragmatic. That didn't really work out. So Manchester United were desperate to try and get somebody in to bring success first. Forget the style and the substance, that will come later.
Champions League.
And then what they've had is he's had 3 or 4 years of relative instability. The football hasn't been great. So fans now want to get back to the basics of what they believe Manchester United are.
But it's a sign of the times, isn't it? So they brought in Moyes, and he hasn't had long. They brought in Van Gaal, hasn't had long. Mourinho hasn't been there long. Go back to when Ferguson took over.
He nearly got sacked.
He nearly got sacked. How long did it take him to actually establish something?
Girl, people forget this, and I'm a big Alex Ferguson fan.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Let me tell you something. Alex Ferguson's not stupid. He stayed that season, the last season, right? And I know, because I spoke to people, he wasn't going at the end of the season. He was staying for 1 more season. But they nicked the title that season by default of other teams not performing well. And he looked at it, he knew there was a massive job to be done. Moyes comes in at the end of the transfer window and not being able to bring any kind of players in. Is under serious pressure then to do a job. Then they bring Van Gaal in. So they bring Mourinho in, knowing full well the style of play that he's going to bring to the table.
But probably knowing he's going to bring them a trophy or two.
But he's going to get them back into the Champions League,
and where
they need to be, which he's now done. So now they've got to make a decision now, like Stan says, are they going to win the Premier League with Jose Mourinho? Well, they will do if they invest the money. He's been undermined in terms of the transfer dealings. He wanted to get rid of Marshall. He wanted to bring in... He's arguing with, like Stan and I have talked about, he's arguing, well, Pep's made mistakes at Man City. He's been able to get them out and bring other players in. I brought 2 centre-backs in. They've not done it. I need to bring other centre-backs in. He's not been backed by the football club in terms of what he wants to do in the transfer market.
Oh, he spent a lot of money,
£300 million
he spent a lot of money.
Bill.
Oh, no, I know.
They've spent, 96 million on Pogba, or 89, wherever it was.
That was Mourinho's man. Mourinho signed Lindelof. Mourinho signed Bailly.
Yeah, but if you look at the clubs,
the only
Man City are still spending money.
Okay, so
are we talking too much?
collectively?
So to wrap this up then,
very
where
briefly,
do you see...
the only excuse that Jose Mourinho has with Lindelof and Bailly not being successful is just what Carlton said there, is that Pep Guardiola can do exactly the same, buy 2 players that are not successful, and then go and spend another 100 million that now Mourinho is saying, Pep can do that, let me do it. And I don't think that's a good enough excuse.
But what's the end story here? Because considering the fact that Mourinho has never successfully overcome a controversy, like in Chelsea, like in Real Madrid, that the one he's facing now, where does it end?
Guarantee, if we're sat here, God willing, this time next year, Jose Mourinho will not be the manager of Manchester United. Paul Pogba will not be the central midfielder at Manchester United. I almost guarantee it.
I'm with Stan, because the problem is with Mourinho, the only way he can stay at Man United, which will ease the supporters, is they've got to win something. If they don't ease supporters, then the way they play is not good enough for Manchester United.
Hard for me to disagree with my esteemed company here tonight.
Your esteemed
I can't argue with you guys.
All right.